Marvel's Iron Fist Season 2. This is the second season with the individual character following the events of the Defenders. It is a Netflix original series consisting of 10 episodes of about 50 minutes to an hour in length each. This is a shorter season than last time. Traditionally they do 13 episodes, but a lot of people have been complaining about the pacing, and that's really been hurting the seasons. Obviously this one is a little bit shorter, so they're trying a new style, and that format of 10 episodes seems to really work well for a Netflix series. So with this one, we follow Danny Rand. He's, a billionaire, kind of martial artist guy, and he's a little bit off base because of what happened at the end of the Defenders. He's now living with Colleen Wing, and the two of them have a functioning relationship, which is a bit odd for a Netflix Marvel series, because they're usually dark and really dysfunctional, so I actually kind of like the interactions between these two. They seem like more regular people with their own problems. And the series does seem to focus on each of them. Obviously the main focus is on the Iron Fist, but she gets a lot of screen time with her own ventures throughout. So I hated the first season of this. I thought it was terrible. It was the worst thing they've ever done in terms of the Marvel properties. I mean, Jessica Jones is fantastic, Daredevil is great, Luke Cage is done way better. Quite like Season 2 of that one. So with Iron Fist Season 2, I was like, not going in with high expectations, but I can happily say this is better. It's not amazing, but the pacing is quicker, there's a little bit more going on, and they definitely jump into the action right away. They're not taking their time, you know who this character is, but they're still doing so many weird, boring things, and I don't think the story is quite as cohesive as it could have been. So you've got, Danny doing his thing. He's now working kind of low-level jobs for whatever reason, even though he's vastly rich with Rand Industries. And then you've got regular people around him. This show is not as dark as the other Netflix Marvel shows. It's a lot lighter. It still has that sort of really dark and a gritty thing, but it leans more towards the magical side of Marvel, which is neat, but also, it's not too much of a fascinating character to begin with, so what do you do with him? You get to see the Fist in action a lot more, but again, it's kind of like, it's a lot better. I mean, if you like the first season for whatever reason, you're going to love this one, but other than that, I think it's more watchable than the first season was, because seriously, that was just absolutely horrible. I can't say how much of a difference it is going from the other content and then jumping over to the first Iron Fist season. I thought the idea of the character is kind of neat and where he comes from, and you get to explore that slightly more as they try to build a connection between him and his brother from that local region as they fight over the Iron Fist. So you kind of get a guy that's having problems controlling, his fist and his anger and his emotions still. And then you're combining him with someone else that wants those powers and is even more rash and crazy, thrown into the city they don't understand. You see some new alliances. Danny's family is back, and they're in bigger roles, strangely enough. They're more present. I thought the brother was a little bit better this time, but I mean, who really cares about the side of individuals? And I think they play into that too much because they're not as interesting of characters as Colleen or Iron Fist are. And I think they should kind of lean on them more. I guess he doesn't really have much of a villain, as to say, this time around, because, his main goal in life was the Hand, and if you've seen the Defenders, you kind of know how that goes. So it's weird that he doesn't really have much of a purpose, and he's trying to take up the Daredevil mantle with Matt Murdock, in the events of the Defenders. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it has happened already. So I'm going to touch on that slightly. It's just, he seems a little bit lost. They did get some cooler action going, but it's still not quite what I was looking for in the series. I think it was definitely better, more enjoyable, and an easier watch. It still has some pacing problems. I think the shorter season helped a lot to keep things concise and to the point. But I'm also not sure what the themes they're going for are with this one. They don't seem to have an exact point of what they want to showcase or what they're trying to display with the episodes. It's just kind of a guy spouting Buddhism nonsense as he's going around punching people with a glowy fist. you know, he's still got skills aside from his fist, but it's like, you know, whatever. It's just this rich kid that doesn't like being rich going around spouting nonsense like I was mentioning. And then he's trying to keep his family together for whatever reason, even though they seem to really hate each other and there's a lot of spite there. And some weird plot lines going on around them. I did like the addition of a new surprise character that I won't spoil. A very interesting character, very different, and one that should be a nice surprise for fans of the expanded lore. I didn't expect the character to be involved. They're very different, and I think that is going to change things quite a bit going forward in the series, having this very distinct individual. And it seems like the Marvel Netflix series are actually kind of getting some different characters to play with. You know, these characters, while they all are smaller, do have an expanded lore for themselves. They have many comics to draw from. And it's very interesting to see them borrow from somewhere else and bring them in there, and yet it does fit into what they're trying to show. It's a very weird character, and I don't think you'll know who it was, because I had no idea until they really developed them further. You could get a sense of like a creepiness around them, and that was sort of the draw for me. It wasn't even the main cast, it was this new side character they brought in that kind of was a nice middle split for everyone, an interaction between the varying factions that were at play here. You're not really shown or told what's going on in terms of what everybody's after or what they want, so you're not really sure what's happening, and you're just kind of along for the ride. Again, there's some good spots, and it is better. It's a hell of a lot better than the first season. I was a lot more interested. I love this Marvel stuff. I get really into the shows, and it's still kind of like, I need more from the Iron Fist. You're just not at the level that the other ones are, and it's disappointing because it's a potentially neat character. All of these Marvel characters have something cool or distinct about them, and you've seen such success in the movies with like the weirdest of oddballs. Same with like even, you know, the X-Men universe, if that still exists going into the future. They've done some neat things with like Deadpool's side characters, and you know, the potential is there to really do something cool and dark with these Netflix shows, because they're not fluffy and fun like the other ones are. These are gritty characters, and you can do all kinds of messed up things with them, and they just don't do it. It's just like this one guy running around punching things, and there needs to be more of a connection going on there, and you're just not seeing that. I did like the relationship between the two, as I did mention. I thought that was a nice change of pace in this series, and generally the kind of Netflix universe for Marvel, because everyone is so dysfunctional and messed up. Could have maybe leaned into that more, I guess, or just something along the way. And it's just a bunch of characters that are going around hitting things with martial arts thrown in the middle. There's like some gang kind of fights going on, but you don't really care about the factions at all, so it doesn't matter. They're just extra cannon fodder. They can be punched around or sliced and diced. Even the characters they closely work with, you don't really care about them at all, so they don't matter. I don't think I really liked his family at all. I don't find them very interesting. They did move away from like the general board meetings and stuff for the first one, which is weird considering that was so heavily important that time around. And it seems like they've just completely forgotten them. It is important. I mean, he's part of a big company, so is his brother. You kind of question how this company exists with their two main sort of leads just not giving a damn about it. Like, I don't even think you see the offices at all. It's weird to be so detracted from that when they are a key point. They can be used to be an interesting place, you know, a different dynamic in the overall story. It just seems so lost that they're trying to forget the first season, but yet they're leaning on it heavily with the characters involved, and they just don't do it properly. I'd give this season a 6.2 out of 10. You read my full review in the description below. I'm fairly kind to this. I thought it was way better than the first one, but still it's not completely there. As a Marvel fan, I did like it. I like the characters. I like the two main characters. I like the idea of them, and I'd like to see them in a good season eventually, or kind of bouncing off of players. I thought they really had them right when he was with Luke Cage in season 2 of Luke Cage, and I really hope that they would lean into that more, and they didn't exactly do that.